I didn't notice Melissa all at once. I felt her first, a quiet, unsettling pull in my chest, the kind that doesn't ask if you're ready. She arrived the way certain moments do, unannounced, inevitable. And before I could stop myself, I wanted her attention, wanted her eyes on me, wanted to know what it meant that a woman like her had chosen to look. It was winter, the kind that makes the city feel smaller, tighter. Gray sidewalks, shop windows glowing softly against the cold. I was standing behind the counter of the bookstore where I worked, pretending to organize a stack of new arrivals, when that awareness settled over me, slow, deliberate. She was watching me. Not the distracted glance of a customer passing time, but the focused, intimate attention of someone deciding something. Melissa was not from my world. I understood that almost immediately. She worked in advertising, a senior executive at a firm downtown, the kind of place with glass walls, private offices, and unspoken rules. Her days were filled with meetings, contracts, lunches that lasted just long enough to appear casual. She dressed with intention, every piece of her carefully chosen, as if chaos had never touched her life. She was married. She had a daughter. She lived in a house that required keys instead of hope. I, on the other hand, was 22 and temporary in every sense of the word. I worked at the bookstore to pay rent and convince myself I was moving somewhere, even if I didn't know where. I took classes at night, studied photography when I could afford film, and spent most of my time observing lives that felt more complete than mine. I lived with roommates. I owned more dreams than furniture. We met because she asked for help finding a book. That was the excuse. The real reason came later. Her voice was calm, controlled, practiced. When I handed her the book, our fingers touched, and I hated how quickly my body reacted to something so small. She noticed. I know she did. Her mouth curved slightly, not into a smile, but into recognition. She began coming in every few days after that. Sometimes she bought a book. Sometimes she asked questions she didn't need answers to. Sometimes she just stood there, watching me move through the narrow aisles like I belonged to her afternoon. I told myself it was nothing, but I waited for her anyway. Melissa stood a few steps away, perfectly still, as if the room had adjusted itself around her presence. Her gloves were tucked neatly into her purse, her posture composed in a way that made me instantly aware of my own uncertainty. She didn't browse, she didn't pretend. Her eyes stayed on me. "Do you ever read the books you sell?" she asked softly. The question caught me off guard. "Some of them." "Which one would you recommend?" she continued, "if I wanted to feel less alone?" I handed her a novel with hands that betrayed me. When our fingers touched, the contact lingered, not by accident, not by courtesy. She didn't pull away first. She smiled then, slow, knowing, as if she'd just confirmed something she'd already suspected. She didn't come back the next day. She waited. She reached out, her fingers resting against my wrist, light enough that I could have pulled away. I didn't. Her thumb brushed my skin once, slow, deliberate. That touch was the moment everything crossed a line. She didn't kiss me. She didn't need to. Desire sat between us, undeniable and carefully contained, like a secret we had both already agreed to keep. What followed was not dramatic. It was worse. Phone calls that lasted too long, meetings that felt accidental but never were, silences stretched thin with meaning, heavy enough to ache. We learned how to want each other quietly, how to look without being seen, how to touch without leaving evidence, until the night restraint failed us. It happened at her house, the same living room, the same wine, but something in her was different, restless, undone. She stood in front of me, close enough that I could feel the heat of her body, her breath uneven for the first time since I'd known her. "This has to stop," she said. Her voice broke on the word stop. I didn't answer. I stepped closer. She reached out, her fingers resting against my wrist, light enough that I could have pulled away. I didn't. Her thumb brushed my skin once, slow, deliberate. That touch was the moment everything crossed a line. She didn't kiss me. She didn't need to. Desire sat between us, undeniable and carefully contained, like a secret we had both already agreed to keep. What followed was not dramatic. It was worse. Phone calls that lasted too long, meetings that felt accidental but never were, silences stretched thin with meaning, heavy enough to ache. We learned how to want each other quietly, how to look without being seen, how to touch without leaving evidence, until the night restraint failed us. It happened at her house, the same living room, the same wine, but something in her was different, restless, undone. She stood in front of me, close enough that I could feel the heat of her body, her breath uneven for the first time since I'd known her. "This has to stop," she said. Her voice broke on the word stop. I didn't answer. I stepped closer. She reached for me then, not carefully, not cautiously, but with urgency, as if she were afraid I might disappear if she hesitated another second. Her hands found my waist, my back, pulling me in. When she kissed me, it wasn't tentative. It was desperate, hungry, real. Her mouth pressed into mine like she had been holding back for weeks, maybe years. I felt her everywhere. The strength of her grip, the tremor in her breath, the way her body responded without permission. There was nothing restrained about it, nothing careful. We kissed like women who already knew the cost and chose each other anyway. The sound came suddenly. A door, keys, footsteps that did not belong to us. She froze. I felt it before I saw it, the way her body stiffened, the way reality rushed back in, cruel and immediate. He stood there, staring. The silence that followed was violent. I don't remember what he said. I remember her face, pale, exposed, terrified in a way I had never seen. The life she had built collapsed in that instant, and I was standing in the middle of it. She didn't reach for me. She couldn't. After that, everything ended quickly. There were conversations I wasn't part of, decisions made without me, boundaries drawn in blood instead of ink. She didn't call again. She didn't come back.
and I understood why. Her life demanded its shape back. Mine was shattered before it could fully form. The last time I saw her, it was in a crowded room weeks later, public, safe, unforgiving. She looked at me once, just once, and it was worse than goodbye. It was memory. Some loves are not meant to survive discovery. Some are ended the moment they are spoken aloud. She turned away. I let her go. Even now, years later, when winter returns and the city softens under snow, I remember her like a scar I never learned to hide. The way she kissed me, like it was the first and last time. Like she knew we would not be forgiven. And how despite everything, she loved me enough to leave. Quietly, forever.